Hey everybody, so I'm gonna make the chicken pot pie filling here really quick. Um, I'm gonna start with the chicken so I can get that in the oven. I'm gonna use my broiler pan, my well-used broiler pan. If you don't know about broiler pans, and a lot of people don't, a broiler pan is meant to have water put in the bottom. If you don't like cleaning up your broiler pan afterwards with the burnt stuff on the bottom, um, then you put a little bit of water in it. Another reason, my broiler pan's trashed, but if I had a nice clean broiler pan, like if I was cooking on top of it, I could put a tiny little bit of water on it, and the drippings that got into the water, I could reduce, and I've talked about that in other videos. I could reduce that into a sauce, put a little cream, salt, a little flour, make a roux, put a little flour, and you can make a gravy out of the drippings in the bottom of the pan, as long as you put water in it and it doesn't burn. But anyway, so first I'm just going to do the chicken. These aren't too bad. Some of them I'm just going to cut out the, as usual, talked about before, just get all the tendons and stuff you don't want to eat out of there before you cook it, because you're never going to get it after you cook it. Just don't touch. No. Okay, so I have them pretty much cleaned up here. That just took me half a second. I'm going to use this Weber beer can chicken seasoning, but it doesn't make any difference what you use. You can use Emeralds, you can use salt and pepper. For our purposes, it really doesn't matter, but this stuff gives it a good flavor, so this is what I'm going to use. I'm just going to sprinkle that on there. Flip it over. There we go.
How many ways are there to cook your chicken
Oh gosh, you could cook chicken 1,000 ways.
for this
Not
recipe?
more. It doesn't. You could cook it. I could saute it in a pan. I could just throw it in the oven and cooked it, because basically it's a chicken pot pie. So for all intents and purposes, it doesn't really matter. But for me, I like give everything a little bit of love as much as I can, and it's gonna end up being better. So I'm just gonna take these, I'm gonna pop them in the oven. 50. Doesn't matter that I already had it going. So just gonna put that one aside, and we're gonna move on. Okay, so I have the chicken in the oven, and it's baking on 350, and I'm going to have that in there for about 30 to 40 minutes, or until it's done. I'm going to start with the chicken broth, and I'm going to use 4.5 cups of chicken broth, which is about one box of chicken broth. Put that on the stove, and I'm just going to start that reducing in a saucepan. I'm going to put that on about medium high, which on my stove is 6.5. I'm going to then put in 1.5 sticks of butter into a large saucepan, and this I'm going to use to saute my onions and garlic, carrots and such. Take the paper off. Then I'm going to cut up my onions. Cut the ends off. Just take that whole first layer instead of picking that thing off. So there we go. I'm just going to slice it.
And how thick is that?
Oh gosh, maybe a little more than a quarter of an inch is how I'm going to do it. And with everything, you have to think about how big your vegetables are. Like my pie is only, it's only going to be maybe an inch and a half thick, so I want my vegetables to be relatively small. It's all about texture in your food. if you're not thinking about texture and the size of your vegetables, your food's just not going to taste as good as it should. And you're going to wonder why it didn't, and it's just because you didn't spend the time to get the vegetables cut the right way, the meat cut the right way. I mean, you never want anything that's really more than bite size in your food ever. And you want to think about, you know, the size of the thing you're making. The smaller it is, the smaller you want your vegetables, just so that the texture in the food is right. I mean, you don't want you biting into giant pieces of stuff in your food, like big, huge pieces of potato. Like in this, I'm not going to use that much potato because potatoes soak up a lot of the juice, and you kind of want to have a gravy. So, you know, I'm going to really think about that when I'm making it. Try to get a lot of more gravy. So that's how I like it. So, you know, little bit of potatoes, not that much, not big chunks. So here we go. So there's my onions. I'm going to go throw those over in the pan. Got my garlic. I'm going to use 2 cloves of garlic. Just cut the ends off. Smash them a little bit.
I like that technique. Whack and peel.
Yeah, and then, you know, it's just going to come right out. It's going to peel right off. No fuss, no muss. Now it should have. Do it a little bit more. There we go.
I like that. See how they just come off in big flakes?
Yeah. Then I'm going to just chop up my garlic.
I like the other way that you also showed me is putting the garlic underneath the knife and kind of whacking the knife, the long edge.
Oh, to smash it?
Yep.
Yeah. And you know, I want really small pieces of garlic, so I'm just going to basically shave it as thin as I can possibly get it. You know, I don't want any chunks of garlic in my food. You know, garlic's just meant to flavor it. I don't want it to have any part of the texture of the food. So I'm gonna cut it pretty fine. And because I shaved it all into little pieces, it's just gonna kind of come apart as I cut it and end up pretty fine as I go. Potatoes. And I'm probably going to use just these 3 potatoes. One of them's really small. That should be plenty. Okay, so I got my garlic and my onions sauteing here.
And what does saute mean?
Cooking them in butter. And I'm going to cook these until they're translucent, which means, you know, they're going to start to look clear. So I'm gonna, you know, cook. I start with my onions and my garlic first because really they're gonna take the most time, and then I'm gonna, you know, add my carrots, my peas. Like the corn and the peas are already done, so I'll add those last. But I'll add my potatoes, my celery, and my carrots. Then I'll add the flour and basically make a roux, but in this case I'm just going to cook it right into the butter that's already with the other stuff, and that way I'll cook my flour. But if I was going to make it for a gravy, I would actually make a roux in a saucepan, which would just be basically browning my flour, which is going to cook it and make it taste better in a sauce. You won't taste the graininess of the flour; it'll dissolve into your sauce. Anyway, so what got her going here? I'm just going to cut up my other vegetables.
I want to come in here and just say that the smell of just the garlic and this onion is so fragrantful that it's filling up the entire kitchen.
My other vegetables, I'm going to do these 3 potatoes. So cut off the ends of the black spot. And same, I'm going to cut maybe a little more than 1/4 inch pieces. Okay, so here we go. I'm gonna just dice these into 1/4-inch pieces. And like I said, I'm not going to use too many potatoes just because they'll soak all the moisture out of the food, and I definitely don't want that. So maybe a cup and a half of potatoes at most. Got my carrots, same thing. I'm going to cut, maybe 1/4-inch pieces. I'm just going to cut a bunch of them up at once, and I just use these baby carrots. They're like super easy. If you notice, I usually try to make cutting up vegetables efficient. If I was cutting them one at a time, this would take forever. Just doing it 5 times as fast, cutting 5 carrots at a time.
I'm just going to use 1 stick of celery.
Just to give the food a little texture. So I've got my celery, my carrots, my potatoes all cut up. If you notice, they're all uniform and more or less the same size. Carrots, celery, this is kind of what you want, because this will like add the texture to your food. Nothing's overbearing, there's nothing too big, everything's just right. It's like Goldilocks and the 3 Bears. So we're gonna throw this right into our butter here. Just gonna get that going. My crust, while my vegetables are sauteing, just gonna put a little flour down. Roll it around a little bit.
Now, why do you put the flour down first?
So it doesn't stick. So just gonna smash it out a little bit. And roll it out. I totally don't need this much. I'm gonna roll it maybe to about 1/4 of an inch thick. I'm gonna do this pretty quick, and then I'll just use what I need and roll the rest of it up.
Sweet.
I like this because with all the little extras I like to put on top, and I like it how the crust is flaky on the bottom and you get some little flakes on the top.
And this will be both enough for the top and the bottom. And I'm going to use this this baking pan here. It's 4x6 inch baking pan. It's about 4 inches deep. About like that. Get a little bit thinner. Make sure I have enough. So that's why I put the flour down, so it wouldn't stick. So now I can just lay this in here. And I just very carefully just lay this into the bottom. Fold it over the sides. And these pieces here I'm just going to smash down. I'm just going to go straight around the pan. Roll that back up. Now I'm just gonna work it up over, make sure we got everything in here flat. And then I'm just gonna, after I'm done with getting this flat, I'm gonna go around the sides, and I'm gonna take my fingers like this, and I'm just gonna, one at a time, push every spot all the way around. And that's just gonna, there's things that do this, but this is just how I've been taught to do it. And, your fingers are always readily available, so.
It's very pretty and very uniform.
Yeah. Just takes a little practice. After you've done it like a couple times, you'll have it more or less down.
And don't throw away your scraps. You will need them for later.
Yeah, I'm going to use those for the top. A bit more up. And there you go. So, it's my little hand decorated pie crust thing. So, yep, I'm just gonna wrap up my scraps and we're gonna roll that back up. And I'm gonna put this in the refrigerator until we're ready. This is just gonna go in the oven with my chicken, and I'm gonna leave that in there for about 10 minutes. So my onions are translucent. Everything's more or less cooked. I'm gonna add my flour. And stir that in a little bit. And this, you know, I've explained in other episodes about how to make a roux and what the importance of it and why you do it. But that's more or less what I'm doing here. I'm just going to cook my flour. Now that I have the flour added, I'm going to have to, you know, really pay attention to stirring it so it doesn't burn. But, you know, the flour's cooking on the bottom. When I add the sauce that I've got cooking over here, the flour will already be cooked because it's being cooked in oil and not a water-based liquid. And it'll give it like a much better taste. Like I said, if you just put flour right into your sauces, it's just going to be grainy and disgusting. So I have my flour cooked. I'm going to add my chicken stock.
Now, is there a reason that you boil that?
I boiled it because now it'll be the same temperature. See, I mean, it's boiling the instant I put it in. You know, also I reduced it, which basically, you know, cooked off some of the water and gave it more flavor. So, you know, there we go. Now we got my nice chicken pot pie color. We're gonna add 1/4 cup of cream. Stir that in. And then I'm gonna add salt and pepper to it. Add about a teaspoon of salt. And there we go. I just measure it with my hand. That's about a teaspoon-ish. Add a little bit of pepper. Maybe a 1/4 of a teaspoon, not much pepper, just to give it a little pizzazz. And then stir it around. That smells so good. I can't even tell you. Add my corn and my peas. I'm going to add about 1/2 cup of each, and I'm just going to guess, as usual. So there's my peas. There's my corn. And we're just gonna stir that around, and that's it. You know, that's the sauce. So as soon as my pie crust is done, I can throw this into the pie crust, and then I'll do the top for it, and then we'll cook it for about another 30 to 45 minutes, and it'll be ready to serve. So my chicken's done baking. You know, looks great, smells good. I'm just gonna chunk it up.
The smell of this chicken is incredible.
Same thing, not like huge giant chunks of chicken, little shreds of chicken. So just cut it up like that.
It's like this savory thing that
yeah, it does.
I need to like sneak this right now. Oh,
need to eat some
cooks
too.
need to taste it.
Yep,
Oh my
it tastes
god.
good.
Good job. It's juicy.
It tastes so good. I almost don't want to put it in my chicken
I
pot pie. Okay, so I cut up my chicken and I just threw it in my sauce. I'm gonna stir it in. Good.
Oh, it's so good. So many good flavors going on here. And it's really aesthetically pleasing with all these colors.
Yep, and it only took us, you know, I mean, it only took maybe 35 minutes to make this total, if I timed it right. I mean, my chicken got done right as the sauce got done. My crust will be done in, just a couple minutes, and we'll throw that in, and then.
Ooh, I smell the
that's
crust.
it.
Mmm.
But it's actually pretty simple to make. Maybe making the pie crust and everything, maybe about an hour to make it total, which in my opinion isn't too bad. And this will actually make 2 pies. So I'll make the one that we're making now, and then I'll take the other half, and I can actually freeze that indefinitely. And when I want it, I can just make a pie crust and throw it in, or we can put it in the refrigerator for maybe up to a week and make another pie sometime during the week. So for that hour you get 2 meals, so it's a pretty good deal. My pie crust has just a minute to cook, so I'm going to roll out the top, and I'm just going to make a little flat square. There's a bunch of different ways I could do this. Maybe we'll make like a little crisscrossy thing. Might be kind of cool. So we're just going to roll this out.
The best part about this cooking show is you don't see behind the scenes, but we're mowing down on the, on the yummy filling, and it's so good.
So I'm just going to cut it into strips. Yep, my pie crust is done. I'm gonna just dump some of this in here. There we go. Save the rest. Then I'm just going to very carefully lay these in here, like so. And this one.
And there's nothing like this crust when it's flaking and melting in your mouth with this rich filling and these amazing vegetables. There's just like this incredible burst of flavors and textures. Super good.
Yeah, there's nothing like a homemade pot pie. Good. So I'm going to lay it in there that way, and then we're just going to lay strips the other way. And it will look kind of cute. And I can stretch my dough a little bit if it's not quite right. It's pretty simple.
It's an artiste.
Yeah, so you can do this a bunch of different ways. If I wasn't lazy, I'd maybe weave it in there, but...
I'm surprised you didn't. Usually, we always get weaved dough tops.
Oh, I know.
But I like this. I love it a lot.
But since we're kind of moving right along here, we're just going to do this. It'll be just fine. It's ready to go. We're going to just throw it back in the oven.